Welcome to If You Even Care. Thank you for caring, or at least for clicking on this, which I guess is kind of like caring. If you've been here before, you're going to notice that we're on a new corner of my home. We've unlocked yet another piece of it because I am constantly trying to escape the sound that comes from my upstairs neighbors. Yes, of course, who we love famously here. If you notice the door behind me and you're wondering why I've painted it like that, I didn't do that because I'm not a baby child. So that would be the landlord special that this entire apartment was given for some reason. Really cute place, really nice features for like an old apartment, an old building, and they ruined it by painting over everything. Like windows like sealed shut, and I use a paint scraper to get them open, painting over screws, painting over like wooden door frames, not even painting them fully, just painting the fucking side of them for some reason, painting over flies. So it's nice if you were to come into it looking for an apartment. You're looking for apartments, you find this one come up on Zillow, and you go view it. You need some place to live. And also you're me in this scenario. So you're me and you're seeing this through my eyes, and you see a spiral staircase, and it's within your budget, and it's not far from where your mom lives. So yes, of course, I'll take it immediately. Give it to me. But then you move into it and you really look at it, and everything has paint on it. And you realize that the owners commissioned a bunch of toddlers to come in and paint the entire thing. Which, if I was a toddler, I would think that's fucking awesome. I couldn't imagine a better time if I was a baby with a baby's brain than to be given a can of paint and access to an apartment where I could just paint on everything. Because that's exactly what I would do. I would paint on everything. And that's what they did. They painted on things that could look really nice if they just didn't paint on them, because they were toddlers, of course, from TaskRabbit. So they didn't know. They couldn't possibly know that. That's not their fault. That's the people who own this place and commissioned children to paint it. It's ridiculous. Like, it's so silly. So that's not me. None of that is ever me. If you ever see shit like that, that's not me. You see a bunch of toys and you're like, that must also be the toddlers that painted the apartment. No, that's me. But I wouldn't paint like that. So today I want to talk about Love is Blind. And if you're like, Love is Blind is boring, why would I want to hear you talk about that? I fully agree with you. The only thing I care about is the drama and the little things that I found to be funny throughout the season. So that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of all the dynamics, and I'm so for real when I say I don't watch this for love, because people don't go on it for love. So why would I watch it for something that the people on it don't even really truly desire? There you got people on there once in a while who are really genuine and you just feel like they're there for the right reasons, but it's a needle in a haystack kind of situation. At least it's how I feel. So I watch it for drama, and that's what happened, was drama. You could find so many people on YouTube who want to like break things down. You know, the videos that start with Love is Blind is a dating show where people find love from behind, and they have to go into like the whole like Wikipedia description of what the show's about first. They're going to get granular with it. I don't want to do that. I want to have fun. So if you care, that's what we'll talk about. Before that, a couple of things that are just on my mind at the moment. The banana pudding coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. She gotta go. Get her out of here.
Get them banned.
She's gotta go. I don't want to see her. Not anymore. I tried it. I was like a circus peanut candy kid when I was growing up, like the marshmallow that tastes like artificial banana. I knew I would like it. I liked it so much more than I even thought that I would. And then I proceeded to have maybe 8 or 9 of them, almost back to back, to the point where I got fucking sick and tired of them. I did the same thing with salt and vinegar chips when I was a kid. I loved them so much. I love the burn from those chips. The way that they would make your lips hurt so bad Something about that I really loved. And I sat there one day and ate an entire family-sized bag and then threw up everywhere because you just can't have that much of a good thing. I did the same thing with the banana coffee. They knew I would do it too. They knew when they put that coffee on the menu, they knew what was going to happen to me. They know. And I know that they know because even the bad, evil Duncan near me, that makes everything bad on purpose. For me, at least. Maybe not for other people. That might be their good Duncan. You never know. But the good and the bad Duncan, they both made it excellent. They both did so, it tasted the same every single time I got it. So good. It dethroned Dunkin' Latte for a second, which in my opinion is the only drink that's worth getting at Dunkin' Donuts. The iced coffee is going to be nasty almost always. The rest of it, get it out. Don't care. Dunkin' Latte was number one. Then banana coffee got it for a moment. Then I had 8 or 9 banana coffees. It's got to go. They knew I would do it when they put it on the menu. They knew what was going to happen to me. And then I drank that last one and I felt sick. And now I can't have anything banana flavored, at least for a long time, I think. And they did that to me. They took that from me. Why? Who does something like that? Who does something like that to somebody they know is going to take advantage of it? Put something like that on the menu. And then 2 other shows that I've been watching before we get into Love is Blind. I never went back to talking about Bridgerton. I loved it. Benedict, I'm no longer mad at you. Benedict, you can get out of the corner and you can even take the dunce cap off because I'm not mad at you anymore. You did make it up to me personally. So I'm glad that you did that. So we can get back to, how we were before. It's funny. Anybody that I've talked to about Bridgerton and asked them, I know that they've seen other seasons and I've asked them, did you watch the latest season? They've all kind of said the same thing of no, because I heard it was bad. Who told you that? Who would say that? I think season 4 was so focused on the main love interest rather than being focused on all the other side characters and maybe spending a little bit too much time on them and their stories, which I really appreciated. That's one of my favorite things about season 1 and 2 is that it feels like it was about them. And then season 3 was fun. Love Penn. Loved to see her, have her moment. So that was great. It was fun. Sometimes fun is enough. So just didn't feel like there were many repercussions for the whole whistle down thing. It was kind of just oh, well, I guess she's the one that's been talking shit about us for years. Let's dance in this room full of butterflies. And that's okay. That's all right because I like Penelope. So I had fun with the season in general. But I like my Bridgerton to be a little bit dark. So this season was great for me. I don't know what anybody's talking about. Don't care. I thought it was fun. So if any of you have heard the same thing and you haven't watched it because of that, go watch it. In fact, if you've never watched Bridgerton because you're it just feels like it's going to be corny, it is just corny enough and just fun enough that it balances out. You just have to go into it knowing, you gotta have fun with it. It's just a fun show. And same thing for One Piece, because One Piece season 2 of the live action show just came out. Again, loved it because I went into it expecting to have fun, and that's exactly what happened. It was fun. I could nitpick things. I don't want to. I enjoyed all the characters. I think some of them I enjoy more in one, the live action more than the anime or vice versa. For me, Usopp, who's my favorite One Piece character forever and always. Love him. he was great in both. Like, he's just good across the board. I think killed it in the live action. That's just a great character. That's a fun character to play, I would think. Sanji, specifically, I really enjoyed in the live action because he's not as much of a fucking gooner. You know? I hate the character who their whole thing, you know, the comic relief part of their character is that, like, they're obsessed with women. Like being a kid and watching Pokemon and seeing Brock come on the screen, I would be like, what the fuck is his problem? Having a little bit less of that in Sanji was enjoyable. More enjoyable for me than it is in the anime, to be honest with you. Something that happens in the show that bothers me anytime I see it in any show or movie where there's a lot of fight scenes. Oh, I hate this. When there's a fight scene happening, they're fighting bad guys, and the bad guys are getting thrown all over the place. They're getting thrown into the wall, into the floor. They're getting fucking smacked around, hitting the ceiling, then falling. Like, thrown into the wall so hard that there's like a hole in the wall. Head trauma. And then it feels like they don't know how to end the fight sometimes. So it's like the final move will be they get hit again and they get like thrown into another bad guy, or they just get thrown one more time. And for some reason, that's the one that kills them. Why would that final throw be the one that puts them down? I always hated that. That happens multiple times in One Piece. That does bother me. There's a part of me that wants to critique things and like nitpick shit, but the overarching feeling is this was fun and I enjoyed it. So, you know, I still do it a little bit, kind of like when I'm reading a book and I'm loving the characters and I'm loving the world building and whatever, and then something happens that doesn't really make sense. There are people who understandably will let that ruin the entire book for them. And I try to override that just to have fun. Because then it goes away in my head as like, okay, I was originally going to put this in like this is an excellent book category. Now it's just going to go into, this was a really fun book. Like, there has to be that separation. So I had a lot of fun with season 2. Edwina, what are you doing here? Like, the actress, I can't remember her name right now, that plays Edwina in season 2 of Bridgerton is in One Piece season 2, playing Princess Vivi, who I love. And she's just one of those people that I just could not take her out of the role that I know her from. So the whole time I was watching it, I just kept being like, but you're from Bridgerton. Okay, now we can talk about Love is Blind. So this season just ended. We had the reunion and everything. These are the things that caught my attention that I thought were interesting or insane, mostly insane, or funny. This was another season full of nefarious characters. They went to, I guess, Gotham City, Ohio for this one. I don't know how so many of these people keep slipping through the cracks when the casting team puts everyone through such rigorous testing to be chosen for the show. They have to answer questions like, do you believe in love? What flavor do you want your wedding cake to be? Do you want to be a daddy? And when the women on the show talk about having kids, which is one of the big ones that usually comes up pretty early on, whether or not they're interested in starting a family, that's a pretty big factor in whether or not you should move forward with talking to somebody if you don't share that in common. If they say they're not interested in having kids, the men will often try to put their minds at ease by saying, hey, I think you'd be a pretty good mom. And if these women could inseminate themselves on the spot, I bet you they would. I bet you they would. After hearing such praise, the only thing a woman really needs to hear, and if they could inseminate themselves on the spot, then Nick and Vanessa Lachey would get the pod baby that they desire. It's an undertone, they're not really in your face about it, but if you've been watching the show for a long time, you know that Nick and Vanessa Lachey want a pod baby. It comes up every reunion, every time they check in with people. Have you had a baby yet? Babies? Do you want babies? Because they are trying to develop a designer pod baby. That is what the show is really, truly at its core about, is Nick and Vanessa getting their pod baby. It's easy to forget. You know, you're watching it and it's trips to Mexico and there's a conflict coming up. You have way more clothes than me. And that's definitely going to be a point of contention between us. Oh, I didn't like that you were making eye contact with her so much at Everybody Flirt With Each Other night. You forget that in the background, these two are waiting for that pod baby. So let's get into a couple of my favorites. There's a guy on this season who heard somebody say the term flying fuck once and thought it was the coolest thing he'd ever heard. In fact, he drops flying fuck like 15 to 20 times in a night.
I don't give a flying fuck. I don't give a flying fuck. Like, I don't give a flying fuck. I don't give a flying fuck.
It's really cool. Just as cool as he probably thinks it sounds. Comes across perfectly. Translates well. In fact, there's a moment in one of the episodes where he's like reaching for a term, searching for a way to describe like how much he doesn't care, like how little of a fuck he gives. And you can see the gears turning in his head. And then he just lands on flying fuck, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like you can see him trying to find a different way to phrase it, and he just can't find one. It's just too good. A fuck would not be able to convey just how little he cares, just how secure he is in all of his decisions and in himself. That would not come across. But if the fuck was flying, you put a little sauce on it. So Chris, that would be flying fuck guy, is with Jess, who is a gorgeous doctor. They're fine on the honeymoon. You're still getting that sense like, okay, this guy is going to suck so bad at some point, but it's not really like happening yet. The thing isn't happening yet until Chris goes MIA for 2 days. For 48 hours, he doesn't tell his literal fucking fiance, because he proposed to her, where he is or what he's doing. They're sitting down on the couch and they're hashing this out. She's telling him, hey, that's not cool. That, like, I thought that you would tell me what's going on or where you are. And they're not full-blown arguing yet, which couldn't be me. For 48 hours, you can't send a text? She is a doctor with the patience of a saint. I could take several pages out of her book, and I should, but I won't, because I would lose them, and they would not be put to use. I would not study them the way that they would need to be studied. I will never have that kind of patience. To not be full-blown fucking arguing. Maybe it's because the cameras are there. Maybe it's because she's just the kind of person who doesn't need to respond to things like that. Whatever it is, I commend her. Could not be me. So they're sitting there talking, and she's telling him how she feels about having no idea where he is for 2 days and zero communication on his end. And he's like, I mean, we don't have to stay in like constant communication. That's not what that is. That's not constant. Constant to me is like we're texting all day long. You know, like talking stage when you're just texting each other everything that happens in your day. But that doesn't stick for most people, especially because if you're in a relationship and you live by each other, you're going to see each other. But people do tend to check in once at least, bare minimum once, but normally multiple times in a day. Just brief interactions. Jess responds with, no, you don't. I'm not asking you to be in constant communication with me. He doesn't have much of a response to this because he knows he's wrong. He knows he's wrong, and he's caught on camera being a douche and deflecting. This situation is so like calling out someone for liking half-naked photos of people on Instagram, and then that person going, well, I guess I'll just delete my whole Instagram then. If I can't use it for liking photos, which I only like the photos because I'm trying to support them, then I'll just delete the whole thing. You know, one of those guys who like, well, if I can't text my ex-girlfriend, I'll just get rid of my phone then. No, it's fine. No, if I can't text somebody who I used to date but is now just a friend to me because it's what phones are for, I'll just get rid of the phone. If that makes you happy, I'll do that. He's one of those. And then you realize that's the thing you've been sensing the whole time. That's what's been brewing. After Chris is called out, and this obviously has nothing to do with the fact that he's been called out and maybe feels embarrassed or is worried about how he's going to look on camera and he feels self-destructive. Definitely has nothing to do with that. He decides that that conversation needs to turn into one about their sexual compatibility. Chris tells her that he's used to dating women that do Pilates because he's a Pilates princess and he wants to have that in common with the person that he marries. Jess is a doctor. She doesn't have time to coordinate Gymshark outfits with you and do 10 a.m. classes. So that's a weird hill to die on, but whatever. He wants a woman who's into Pilates. He says he's used to dating people who work out. And if you're wondering, well, obviously Jess doesn't work out. If this is what he's saying to her, did she make him aware of this in the pods? Yeah. She's brought it up several times. So he was well aware. Jess is also, I don't know how to say this because I don't really want to make too many judgment calls on somebody's body. She seems to be a thinner woman. He also tells her that he's been thinking a lot about what it would be like to be with his other number 2 pick from the pods. What it would be like to be with her. I'm going to make him explode with my mind. Bring back stoning in the town square. Bring it back. Full swing. I need to see something. His number 2 pick in the pods, by the way, is a girl named Bree, who also is in one of the final couples. She's with a guy named Connor. They seem to be happy together. I don't particularly care for her, but we'll get into that. And she doesn't look that different from Jess. Body type wise. It's not really making sense. So you start to get the feeling that maybe he feels inferior next to his doctor fiance who has a nicer apartment than him, who is a kinder person than him, who is more sociable, seems to get along with people easier than he does. He wants to take her down a peg. That's all this is. There's a point when they're having this conversation and he's going, yeah, I'm just used to like dating people with like a different, and then he starts doing motions like with his hands to signal body, like going like, yeah, like a different, like he's searching for the word, but what he's actually trying to do is force her to finish the sentence for him. Cherry on top of this interaction. And she goes, different body? He's like, yeah, like a different body. He's trying in this scene to walk a line of like getting to humiliate her and make her feel bad about herself while also not looking like a villain. A line that literally does not exist. And it gets even better and cringier somehow. So that conversation ends with just being like, well, if I'm not enough for you, then, you know, I'm done. Fuck you. She doesn't say fuck you. If I had any notes, I think she did great. She held herself beautifully. She should have said fuck you and then hit him with a big rock or a giant hammer. That night that they break up and have this conversation, he makes a new Instagram account just so that he can post himself being at the strip club, which is awesome. He does this, of course, as a fuck you to his now ex-fiance, but it's also supposed to signal to people that if he takes out his paycheck in cash and he goes to an establishment where you pay women to give you attention, that even he can pay women to give him attention. Yeah. All it takes is some money in a place where people take money for that kind of thing. Awesome use, awesome first post, you know. I do have some ideas for him for some grid post if he's trying to chase this influencer lifestyle. I kind of see what he's going for here. I'm thinking get a buddy or a tripod, a little bit of an over-the-shoulder shot of him scrolling on back pages, looking to spend about 50 roses. There are actually people who, if you give them money, will give you drugs. So maybe a shot of like an interaction where he's handing somebody money and then they're handing him some kind of drugs. And then that would signal that he can also spend money to get drugs, right? And that's pretty cool. Or maybe a shot of like his nightstand and he's got some Blue Chew on it. And then people would know that for the right price, he can get hard. And then people would be like, okay, this guy gets into some pretty sick shit in exchange for money. This is a guy who knows that he can take money out and he can exchange it for other things. And that's pretty fucking cool. Who wants to be a doctor? You know, who wants to be a doctor and have money and a career and like a personality and real friendships when you could do shit like this and also be in a ton of debt, pretending to have money, which is what he did. His ex blew up all his shit. He's in a ton of debt, hasn't paid her back for a vacation that they went on that they were supposed to split. He's trying to pretend to be a specific kind of person, and you know exactly the kind of guy he's trying to emulate. Like, he talks a lot about cold plunging. Not shitting on cold plunging. I want nothing to do with it. That doesn't mean that it's bad. But there's a certain kind of person that talks about it the way that he talks about it, how often he talks about it. You get what I'm saying. I know that you do. Like, and his cold plunge bath, you know, pretending to be this guy with a bunch of money. He's at this big gathering that they have every season. There's an episode where they all get together, the people who are in couples, the people who didn't make it into couples, that they all dated each other. They all get together and get drunk and flirt with each other. So that's a mandatory thing that has to happen before the weddings, shortly before them. And he's there drunk, making a fool of himself. And the guy Connor goes over and like touches his shoulder. He's wearing a sweater. He's like, hey, be careful. That's an expensive sweater. Like, moving his hand and like joking, but also not joking, and trying to make it seem like he's wearing something really expensive. He actually wants to signal to this guy Connor, who's dating his number 2 choice, who he's been thinking about what it would be like to have sex with her, that he's got money to flex on him. But his cold plunge is like what appears to be a dog bath on his porch. Nothing wrong with that, again, for the average person. But for somebody like Chris, who's so loaded, it's a lot. He's got like a little dumbbell next to it, which is probably for breaking the ice to get into the cold plunge. So he's got a little bit of a setup, you know, rigged it himself. But you would think somebody with that kind of money will be plunging into something nicer. I don't know. That's just me. He spends the whole night where everybody's gathered together trying to save face and somehow making it so much worse. First of all, he seems drunk off rip. Like, he seems like he showed up there drunk. That's great. Then he continues drinking while he's there. And there's a scene where, you know, he keeps going to all the girls and being like, oh, I know you probably hate me, but you don't know the whole story. And they do know the whole story because Jess told them. And Jess is like a normal functioning person who would not need to exaggerate the story at all for it to be as crazy and stupid as it is. So he's going to all the girls, you know, he corners 3 of them. There's 2 women and then this girl, Bree, which It seems like all the women are aware of the story. They've all heard Jess's side, which I have a feeling is probably just what fucking happened. I don't think in this one there needs to be a like her side, his side, and the truth. I think it's just she could objectively say what happened. And I get the feeling that that is what she did, including the fact that he mentioned he's been thinking about Bree. So Bree and all the other girls seem to know what happened. So for Bree to entertain this conversation at all rubs me the wrong way. He's talking about, oh, there just was no like sexual chemistry. But he doesn't leave it at that. He goes so far as to start telling them, yeah, the sex is awful. It was the worst sex I've ever had. And Bree, the other two women are standing there in shock and seem grossed out. But Bree is going, no, like, I get it. No, like, I get it. Like, I've heard, I know her side and it's hard because, like, I know your side and, like, yeah, like, you can't do it without, like, it has to be sexual chemistry. Pick me. That conversation didn't need to be had at all. It didn't need to be had between Chris and Jess. He kept it going that whole time, like going into more and more detail about how important sex is to him and how important that attraction is and whatever. And none of that needed to be said because it is possible to just say, hey, I don't think that there's much chemistry between us and leave it at that. Because that is a perfectly acceptable reason to not move forward in a relationship. And I don't like when people do this whole like blunt honesty thing when it benefits them and gets to hurt the other person's feelings. Because that kind of honesty at the cost of someone else's feelings is not worth it and it's not necessary. You can be honest in saying that there is something missing. There's a certain level of honesty that's not required to get the fucking point across. I hate him. I want to I hate him. Bree entertains this conversation for way too fucking long. There was no need to be entertaining the conversation for as long as she did. And then eventually she gets tired of it and she walks away and he goes, yeah, I guess I'm like that crazy Andrew Tate guy. And she's like, I don't know who that is, and walks away. Which is the only thing about this whole interaction that I actually liked from her. This is your friend. You are aware of the fact that you're all mic'd up, or it's supposed to be your friend. You're all mic'd up, you're surrounded by cameras, and you're aware of the fact that him saying such awful things about her body and the kind of sex that they were having, it's all gonna be on TV. And you don't cut that short. That's the shittiest fucking thing. She does get called out for that at the reunion. Chris gets called out the whole time. I mean, they like go in on him, rightfully so. And he does the only appropriate thing and sits there looking sad the whole time and takes it. He eats it, all of it, which is exactly what he's supposed to do. And it's the only thing that he really should be doing. His presence there is just to kind of take the heat that he deserves. And that's about it. And Jess is now dating a handsome doctor who stands up in the crowd and says a bunch of nice things about her. And that's a happy ending on her end. And also everybody hates the guy that treated her so poorly. So that's also a win. There's another guy who's interesting to me, Devonta and Brittany. His whole thing, their conflict. One is that he says he's never dated a woman of color before. And that's a thing, I guess, for him. But his other biggest issue is that he doesn't like giving compliments. And Brittany is beautiful. You can tell she takes care of herself. She takes pride in maintaining herself and how she looks. And you're going to want compliments from the person you're in a relationship with. But that's just not what he's known for. It's not his thing. He's just not the kind of guy who's going to tell you that you look beautiful today. It's not who he is. And he tells her that the more she wants him to give her compliments, the less he wants to compliment her. Because women are bitches. Women are just fucking crazy. Why do you want to hear from your partner that they think that you look good? Because they're fucking crazy. Bitches. Like, women are bitches. He'll give her compliments that he wants to give her, not the compliments that she wants to hear or that any person would want to hear. He'll give her compliments like, I like your eyelashes, or I like how when you smile, I can see your teeth. And I love how you sleep with your eyes closed. But they have to be compliments that he wants to give. Because if she wants it, he doesn't want it. They have a conversation where she says that she's willing to accept the fact that being with him means she won't get compliments. And he's just sitting there doing, I don't even know, active listening. Like she's going, I know that, you're never going to tell me that I look pretty. He goes, mm-hmm. And she goes, I mean, I do want you to tell me those things, but I know that you're not going to. Yeah. And it would mean a lot to me if you did, but I know that's not something that I can expect of you. Yeah. Right. Just like nodding to every like really awful thing that's coming out of her mouth, that where he should be hearing it and going, this sounds bad. This is making me look really bad. I think it's one of those things where he's one of those men that goes like, I mean, you think that you look good, so why do you need to hear it from me? So these two do not end up getting married. They end up having a conversation where they kind of agree that like they'll keep dating, which they don't, but they'll keep dating and then eventually they'll get married, but now is not the time, which is not Brittany's decision at all. That is entirely Devonta's decision. They both do weird interviews after they sit down and have that talk on camera about their decision to not get married, where Devonta's kind of going like, she's like my fucking shadow. Like she follows me everywhere I go, like basically just being annoyed with her. And like, you already know they're not going to stay together. Like this is not going to last, from just the way he's talking about the relationship. But on Brittany's end, she comes across as one of those people that wants to be married just to be able to say that she's married. Like it's very important to her, that title, which is something I can't relate to. So I've never been able to understand that. Like wanting to get married, not because of the person that you're getting married to, but to be able to say that you're a wife. And it probably has to do with the fact that marriage is not something that's important to me and never has been. It hasn't been something that I've ever dreamt of. It's not a goal of mine. Even though I've been in only long-term relationships, it's just not something that I understand the appeal of that much. But so maybe it's because of that. But to me, it doesn't make sense for her to be so focused on the marriage aspect when it should be the person you're getting married to, like the kind of marriage you're getting yourself into, that should matter. And this one would suck. This one seems like it would suck really bad. You'd be married, you'd be a wife, you'd be able to do whatever it is that you think are wife things that you hold back from in a relationship that you only want to give to someone that you're married to. But the marriage isn't going to look any different than the dating, girl. It's not going to look different than the engagement. And that part already sucks. So you get to have this big fun party, but then afterwards you're left with the same relationship that you started with, and it's not great. You have to compromise so much to be with a person like that. And it's not worth it. That's not the kind of compromise you should have to make. But she has this whole thing where she's talking about the dress that she bought, because she bought her wedding dress before coming on the show, which Devonta says in these interviews is weird. And I hate to have to agree with him, but it's not that weird. No. And I'm walking it back, because if I was out thrifting and I saw a wedding dress, even though I don't have any plans of marriage, if it was really beautiful, I would buy it just because I'm finding it for like an insane price, But to go out and wedding dress shop to be on the show where you don't even know who you're going to meet yet, if you'll meet anybody interesting, it's a little odd, I guess. But she keeps talking about how when he sees her in this dress, like she really wanted him to see her in the dress because the dress is going to bring out her natural beauty in the dress. That's what the dress is going to do if he got to see her in the dress. But now you won't get to see her in the dress, but she's positive they're still going to get married later on. She seems like a nice enough woman. Certainly not as problematic as he is, or that's not how she comes across at all. But it is a little odd. And then Devonta's ex does the same shit everyone else's ex does when these guys are on the show, and she's like airing him out for being shitty, being a cheater. In fact, multiple exes, I think, said he was a cheater, but now he's engaged with a baby on the way. So there's that. That's the conclusion to his bullshit. Another couple that just blew me away. Alex and Ashley. This guy, Alex, speaks exclusively in HR talk. He always talks to you like he thinks you're about to fire him. Like, it's very, like, no, exactly, 100%. And without a doubt, logically, like, he doesn't talk like a person. He doesn't speak naturally. He has his guard up or whatever it is about him that makes him this way. I don't care. I just hate it.
Realistically, in reality, absolutely. Absolutely. I won't lie, absolutely conservative though, without a doubt, no question. 100%, for sure, logically. On my end.
I don't care to intellectualize it. I just think it sucks. And it's not just how he talks, it's the Jedi mind tricks that he pulls when he's trying to explain something. So a big conflict between Alex and Ashley is the timeline of when he was with his last ex, his big relationship that ended a while ago and really messed him up. And when exactly the last time he saw her was, and the timeline of everything. She's confused about it because it seems to always change. Because Alex is the kind of guy where you ask him a question and then he rambles on. He's saying so many words to try to distract you from whatever lie or truth he's telling, whichever it is, because he also seems like a fucking liar. He just says a lot of words at you, and then you have to sit there and process it to pick it apart and figure out what he was actually answering, what he was actually saying. Ashley really struggles with this. I personally don't think that this man could manipulate me if I was under fucking hypnosis. It has to be one of those things where you have feelings for him, and that's why it's able to get through to you the way that it does. Because to the average person, I think you'd hear what he's saying and you'd be like, oh, well, you're a garbage liar. You're a man with a mouthful of garbage who's just saying a bunch of shit to me. And nothing about what you're saying sounds truthful or real. And the way that you talk seems like you're like the way that a pathological liar would speak. If you've ever met one in your life, the way that they just kind of feel, it seems like they're scared to step on something they've said earlier. They always end up doing it because you can't keep track of shit like that. Everything that comes out of this man's mouth is a filler episode. You could literally just skip it and you would have no more or less information than before. There's a scene where he's meeting Ashley's father, who goes in on him a little bit, like kind of grills him, gives him a little, who did you vote for? Because he's like a Trumpy. And he's like, well, I didn't vote, but if I did, 100% without a doubt, it would have been Trump. Cool. It's too bad you didn't get a chance to vote for the worst president ever. That's unfortunate. We really could have used your vote. Her father's asking him how old his grandfather was when he died. I have to look at my notes for this. So he tells Ashley's father that his grandfather lived to be 67 years old. And that him and his grandmother were together for, I believe, 55 to 53 years. And because he always has to talk like that, like technically 55, technically maybe 53. He always has to have an answer, even if he doesn't have an answer. He has to be able to answer any question, even if he doesn't know, instead of just saying, I don't know. That would make his grandparents 14 or 12. Okay. Well, I guess they could have met as kids. Was your grandfather a victim? How old were they when they got married? That's the real follow-up question. That's really young. He tells this story about his grandfather like flirting with his grandmother when they first met or whatever. At 14 or 12? Maybe 13? Technically, 100% without a doubt. There's a conversation between them where Ashley is asking why he hasn't been initiating sex, and she had recently been on her period. So Alex goes, well, I'm trying to realistically be aware of your period, but I can't control you having your period or your cycle. Realistically, I would want to, like technically, I would want to, and if I could, I would make it so that you don't have a period, but I technically can't do that. So 100% without a doubt, I'm not going to know when your period is over and when your cycle ends realistically, unless you tell me when your cycle ends. But if you want me to keep a period tracking app so that I can know that, with 100% without a doubt, I can do that. He does this same thing a couple of times where he goes, I mean, if you want me to open up my Airbnb and show you the dates, I mean, I can do that if you want. And every time I just wish that Ashley would go, yes. Yes, I would like that. I wish she would have just leaned into it fully. When you have a person in front of you who does that kind of deflection, that like, I mean, if you want me to do this, like, I'll do that if that's what you want, like if that would make you happy. Say yes every single time. Yes, I want you to download a period tracker app. And in fact, I want you to pay for the Flow full annual subscription. Yes, I would like you to pull up all of the times and dates of every Airbnb that you've ever been in so that I can figure out the timeline of when you were with your ex. Yes, I would. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Don't offer it unless you want me to take you up on it. I wish I could just be a whisper in her ear in that moment, a whisper on the wind that carries to her and goes, say yes. Yes, make him do it. Make him download a period tracker app. They get into a fight during that big gathering, the one where Chris got drunk and made a fool of himself. They're sitting with one of the other girls in the pods, Priyanka, and him and her know each other from back wherever the fuck he's from, and they were friends, like they were part of the same friend group. And the three of them are sitting together at a table when the topic of where he used to live comes up again, and the timeline of when he was last with his ex comes into question once again. So the big conflict is brought up again, and it's during this that like she's kind of grilling him. Both the women are kind of grilling him and trying to get a straight answer out of him. Ashley is so frustrated with him at this point. He's doing this same lame ass deflection of being like, I mean, do you know where you were on a Tuesday in the middle of the day? And then he pulls out this line where he's like, I mean, but if you want me to let you know every time I jerk off, I'll make sure to do that for you. Because she just wants to know the timeline of when he was with his ex. So clearly she needs to know every detail of everything he ever does. And again, say yes. Yes, I would like that. Let's get a spreadsheet going. I want to know when, I want to know where, I want to know for how long, and I want you to cite your sources. At the end of the week, we can touch base. Okay? I'm noticing a little bit of a trend in BBW Latinas. If you'll take a look at the line graph that I took the time to laminate for you, would you like to expand on that? Or why offer? Why offer to let me know if you don't want to let me know? You want to let me know every time you jerk off? Yes. Yes. Oh, the fights that could be had. Oh, the fights we could start with that information. Yes, I would love to know. Make his life hell. You cannot be passive with people like that. If you want to be with them at all, which you shouldn't. But if that's the kind of person you want to be with for whatever reason you have at the time, before you're ready to say goodbye, fuck with them. Because they're just spending all their time fucking with you, fucking with your head, not giving you straight answers, lying through their teeth. Fuck with them back. You fuck me, I fuck you. Now we're fucking. Let's fuck. Whatever. Say yes. At Alex and Ashley's wedding, Ashley blows him up in front of everybody. She's like, you're a liar. I don't trust anything that comes out of your mouth. I can't marry somebody that's like this. She says no to him. And when she's doing this and she's like calling him a liar and everything, his mother is sitting in the audience, and his mother, who knows how he talks and how he is and that he's a liar, she's sitting there going, she just called him a liar. She just called him a liar in front of everybody. Oh, because my son lies? Now he's a liar? Oh, right. Oh, I forgot. I forgot that lying makes you a liar. Right. No, because he's lying all the time, suddenly he's a liar. Oh, I didn't get the memo. Call my lying ass son a fucking liar. 'Cause he's always lying. People can't lie anymore. That's the thing. In this country, you can't lie anymore. Not as free as they say. Most of the show, I'm flipping through and I'm skimming. Like the weddings, everything leading up to the actual wedding itself, when the family gathers. And I think it's beautiful that these people are able, even if they don't end up getting married, which most of the time they don't, but even then, for them to have their parents there and have that support of their family being there and their friends and having these like deep and honest conversations before they walk down the aisle, it's beautiful. And I don't want to see it. And I'm sorry. I'm sure it was a beautiful conversation with your mother. One, I'm going to cry no matter what. If it's a conversation with a mom, I'm going to cry every single time. And I don't want to cry. And two, I don't care. I just don't want to watch it. So skip. Nobody's really getting married. And the people who do get married end up breaking up later on. Christina and Vic are together still. That is the golden couple. They threw them in there as like an afterthought. Like they don't send these people on the same vacation that everybody else got, because I think that they threw them in at the last minute. They were like a backup couple, but then they were like, we're not going to have any at least lasting marriages that come out of this. And they are actually a really beautiful couple with a great relationship. Let's just throw them in last minute. You know, they get sent off to somewhere in Florida for their honeymoon. And they just get tossed in there because they're like, well, we need one love story. They're still doing great at the reunion. And this time at the reunion, at Love is Blind reunions, they like to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. A little bit of bullshitting, a little bit of fucking games. This Love is Blind reunion, it feels like they took the notes from the last one where there was like a random basketball game in the middle of it. Somebody was playing for someone else's forgiveness or something like that. And it was just, yeah, we can do whatever we want. We can do whatever we want and it doesn't matter. And fuck everything. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Let's play basketball. Who cares? They didn't do as much of that. Typically, a Love is Blind reunion will be a little bit of like a Slime Time Live. It's just fucking around. It doesn't matter. Okay? We're not going to ask the questions everyone wants us to ask, and lots of things will be left unknown. And that will cause people to further speculate on social media and for more rumors to come up. And let's play basketball. Let's shoot some hoops. So that usually feels like a fever dream. And I was kind of sad to see they didn't do anything ridiculous this time. There's more. That's the gist of it. That was the stuff that was the most interesting to me. One of the couples that said I do with the altar ended up breaking up later. I didn't fully understand what was going on with them. There's so much that comes out after the show ends where it's like people from the show posting each other's receipts, which you could just say that about anything now. You could just call anything receipts. You could just be like posting a screenshot of like a slight misunderstanding. And it's like, what do you want us to do with that? What is anyone supposed to do with that? So Love is Blind, to me, I treat it very much like I do with Love Island, where I'm like, it's been fun. It was nice to see you guys. Nice to meet you. I don't think we need to see each other again. I'm not going to be following you on social media. It's none of that. Because they're just normal people. A lot of them go on to become influencers. And I think going on the show kind of puts you in like the the Netflix sphere, like the world of Netflix. So you can go on other shows if you want to. But for me personally, you're just a normal person. And it was fun that you shared this with us. And now we go our separate ways and I don't need to see you anymore. So that's it. Love is Blind is over. I'll keep watching the seasons. They pump these things out in that Love is Blind factory like crazy, which is probably why so many people are slipping through the cracks, because they're just like, we gotta go. We got another season that needs to come out in exactly 37 hours. So, but I'll keep watching it for this stuff and I'll continue skipping through the vast majority of it. That's it for this episode. Thank you for being here. And this is now the end of the episode. And so goodbye.